Hello and welcome to this fourth episode of our secret garden. In this episode we will get the rest of the palm trees in the ground, and we actually are going to encounter some problems with that, but we'll see about that later. First off, let's start with a garden update. Oh, I'm so angry because we are still battling against those boxwood moth caterpillars, and I actually just found some. So I'll have to get around to spraying this plant again, and that's going to be the third time I spray that poison on these plants, and I'm not that keen on it, but I really don't want them to eat all our boxwoods. And if that wasn't enough, we got more pests in the garden. I'll show you. So take a look at these chestnut trees here. We are very fond of these trees, but we have had a problem with them, as you can see here. They are completely ruined by also a sort of moth that gets in the leaves. And that's very annoying because we are very fond of these trees. They look very good in spring before this thing starts. So one of the things you can do to fight off these are collecting the leaves when they fall down, or you can try to fight them biologically. And we tried that with putting up some nesting boxes for small birds, blue tits and such, so they could eat some of the moth. But that turned out to give us another pest problem. Have a look in there. As you can see in here, we have gotten ourselves a big giant wasp nest in one of those nesting boxes for the birds. So we have yet another pest problem to handle. Now I'm starting to feel like the author from that book, the $64 tomato. A lot of problems going on here. Luckily, someone who is invited to the garden are also starting to show up, and it's in the small pond. We'll show you. Here you can see we have two small toads actually enjoying themselves here in the pond. And also a big frog has taken residence here, and it's not that often that we see the frogs in our garden. It's mostly the toads. So we are very happy for those. So that was the garden update. Now it's time to get to work, and we have to start by cutting down some of the overhanging branches here from these beeches to get the palms in under them and to make sure they get some sunlight. So let's get the drone up and let's get starting. As you can see, we have now cleared away some of the overhanging branches here, so we are ready to dig away all the soil here and make this flower bed that we are going to put in here. It's the yellow flower beam bed we have to establish here. So now we are clearing away all the soil, all the dirt, and we are ready to plant those two next palm trees here, those windmill palms. Let's get to work. So we finished clearing off most of the grass turf here for the yellow bed, and it's finally time to free our windmill palms. As you can see, the soil here is very sandy, so I only mixed in half sand, half compost. Whoops, we'll just change this one. And time to water them and fertilize them. So that's 2 more palms in the ground. Now we only need the big wine palm, Chilean wine palm, and to find a spot for our yucca palm. So my wife has just gone in because it's quite rainy today, but I keep working. I actually like working in the garden when it rains, as long as it's not windy, and as you can see, it's very quiet today, no wind at all. So I started constructing these pathways here. As you can see, I use this to control the weed from coming up from down below, and I put in these spears along the way to hold it down. And then it's just adding some gravel to finish it. So I finished up this part here, as you can see. Now I need to take off some more grass turf there. I'm not sure about this edge here, because the plan was to put a large pot here so that you couldn't walk from this side onto this path here. But I'm not so sure about it. The thought about it was to force people to go here and go through the pergola and around. But now I'm not so sure about it. We'll see if I move this part. Finished going up here, as you can see. And the transition from here into the forest. And in here we want to make sort of an edible forest garden with a lot of fruit trees and stuff like that, but that's not on the project list. A lot of beeches here. Now I promised not to do this, but my wife isn't here, so I'll do it anyway. I got 29 projects, but a beech ain't one. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find the precise positioning for the next Chilean wine palm, because it has to be on line with this one here. So we are left with one wine palm left to plant and the yucca palm. So I'm getting a bit concerned about this, because putting the wine palm over there, I'm not so sure about how much light it will get, and they need full sunlight, at least almost full sunlight all day long. So if you have a look here, you can see that we have those trees here and they grow fast. So I'm a bit concerned about the positioning of this one, but I'll try to put a rod in the ground to see where the center will be, and I'll have to make a judgment about whether we have to cut down these trees here a bit or if we can keep them. And part of the design of this garden is to keep the trees all around here, so it looks sort of built in a small forest, at least from the air, from the drone view. So we'll see what we can do about that, but first off, let's find the positioning and get that right, and we'll have to check in on how the sun will be. Let's get to work. So I think I found the spot, if it has to fit with the other palm, but I'm a bit concerned about this because it's going to get very close to the trees, but again, south is that way, so it will get quite a bit of sun anyway, even though they get quite high, those trees. So I think we will put this one in the ground as well. Here I'll just take some cross measurements to make sure it is there, and I'll get it in the ground. And then we only need to finish off by planting this yucca palm, and then we will be done with planting the palms, and we'll have to make the rest of the beds around them and get around to buying flowers and make the hedges and such. So still quite a bit of work to do, but you know what? Gardening is hard work, and hard work is good. It's very precise. I'm quite surprised about that. There's something here getting in the way all the time. I think it's off with like 3 or 4 centimeters, so it's not that bad. And also they are not actually the same size. This one is quite a bit bigger, I think, but it will be easier to see when it's in the ground. So we just need to get it in the ground then. So I finished with the hole, and I just need to check now that it's precisely where it should be. And what better way to check it than with the drone. So let's get him in the air. So it's quite difficult to see here, but I think it actually looks quite good if we put the palm in the hole, and it will have equal distance to all the corners of the flower bed. It's a bit hard to measure out because it's so many angles and shapes in this flower bed, but I think it's okay, so let's get it in the ground. So we are down to just one palm tree left that we need to plant, and that's this yucca. So we changed our mind about this one, and we want to put it in here and remove this latyrus we have here. And it's a bit sad to move a plant that's looking quite good, but it's only a 1-year plant, so it will not come back next year. So we are feeling quite comfortable removing it now and putting down this yucca. So that's the last one we need. We got the big one, the wine palm, in the ground over there. Just need some cleaning up to do, and I'm looking very forward to finishing off those palm beds. We'll see if we get around to it this year, but at least the palms are in, and they are the biggest thing in those beds, 2 beds there. So let's get this last one in the ground. So I think that was it. the last one in the ground. While planting this, I just noticed another problem or challenge, whatever you want to put it. If you look over here, you can see a crew member going mad, but that's not it. If you look at those 5 small palms, you can see that those are actually quite the same height. So I'm not sure about how that turned out, how it looks. My idea is to maybe plant something that's quite high, maybe another palm tree or maybe something else right here, right about here, in the end of this flower bed here. But that's not now. I think I'm quite done for today. So let's go over to the bench and have a pause and check out a recommendation I have for you. If you have any ideas for this garden or any ideas for those flower beds we are about to make now around the palms, be sure to leave us a comment. See you on the bench. So that was it for this episode of our secret garden. I think I'm quite done with palm trees and planting them for the moment, but I'll just leave one bit of palm tree for you guys, and that's my recommendation for this week's episode, and that's Betrock's Essential Guide to Palms by David Leaser. And I like this book because it contains, the first part of it is about different palms and a bit of history about the palm trees and what hardiness they can thrive at and what temperatures they are good at planting. So I like the first part, and also the second part is about some good advice and about planting palm trees and how to care for them, and also some pests. So that's it for this episode. Me and crew member Robin here will have a walk and go to bed, I think. So that was it. Remember to subscribe to the channel or throw us a like if you like what you are seeing, and also you are very welcome to leave a reply for us. So that was it. See you in the next episode of Our Secret Garden.